Namaste everyone. Good evening. Welcome to this evening's Filter Coffee session with a very interesting author and a thinker and a researcher in spiritual subjects, Shri Parag Bhalerao ji, joining us from USA. Parag Bhalerao ji was born and raised in Pune in India. He is currently working in the US, based in the US in the tech industry. Parag holds a master's degree in science and an MBA in HR and marketing. Since childhood, Paragji has been fascinated by subjects related to spirituality. This has led him to do deep research in the subjects. And today, and also his research has deeply been inspired and motivated by the various writings of Dr. V.R. Pathak. Parag took an initiative to explore scientific knowledge on various scriptures, which has resulted in this work which he has written, Creation of the Universe, Purusha Sukta, Demystified. He will focus on the scientific aspects described in the Vedic hymns. This is a very deep subject, and not many take this subject. We have to congratulate him on this, and let us understand and learn from him through this Filter Coffee session this evening. Namaste, sir. Welcome.
Namaste. Welcome. Welcome, everyone.
It is an honor to have you amongst us today, sir. Thank you so much for joining us live from USA and on this Sunday. And we want to know how you were inspired to take this subject.
Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, I want to take a moment to thank you and thank Verandah Club for inviting me for today's session. I'm sure we all will have a great time next half an hour, 45 minutes that we will talk. Coming back to your question. So as you mentioned, since childhood, I was very interested in understanding what we do as rituals, why we do this, what is the significance behind it. And slowly, I started realizing that whatever we do as rituals, those are not just activities that we do blindly. There is some meaning behind it. There is science behind it. And I was always interested in learning more and more. And as I was reading different topics or studying different topics, I came across this very important sukta called Purusha Sukta. And I decided to further study it because of two reasons. One is this sukta is only sukta that comes in all four Veds. We have in our Vedic scripture, there are four Veds, and this sukta appears in all four Veds. There are some variations, but it is there in all four Veds. And secondly, any puja that we do, Shodashopachar puja, may it be Satyanarayan, may it be any other puja, Purusha Sukta is used, or those pujas are based on Purusha Sukta. So when I learned that, I thought there must be some reason why this Sukta is so important. And then I started studying, and I realized that it clearly mentions that Purusha Sukta talks about creation of the universe. And as I studied different talks, different books, I unfortunately did not find much explanation about how the sukta relates to creation. There are a lot of spiritual explanations and about God and things like that, which is all good, but it did not clearly talk about creation of the universe aspect. So that's when I decided, let me and see what it talks about creation of the universe. Does it talk similar things that our modern theories talk about, and what is the basis for it? So that's how I got into this topic and discussed or studied, and eventually I decided to write a book on what I understood or what I uncovered through my studies and research.
Very interesting, sir. You have gone to the scientific backgrounds in each of the hymns and hymns in the Vedas, and not the mere ritualistic things where we don't know the why of thing or how of thing. You have gone to the scientific aspect, and in today's world, understanding the why of what we do is very important for the younger generation, especially.
Correct.
Otherwise, it will be merely written off as superstition. So it is I think it is a very seminal work which we should appreciate and hear from you, sir. Go ahead, sir, please.
Thank you. Thank you. So I will quickly share my screen. I have put together a few slides, which will be
So you're
more like
also a
guiding.
musician, which I didn't know, sir.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
Okay, so we'll
Yes,
discuss a little bit background about the Vedic scriptures, and then we will talk about the Purusha Sukta.
yes, sir.
Okay,
Please.
so we all know that our guiding scriptures are Vedas or Veds. And what is Veds? Most of us don't even know. We think it is our scripture, religious books, but that's not true. The word Ved itself means knowledge. So even though we think of these as our rituals or religious scriptures, those are books filled with knowledge. Other important thing is who wrote these Veds or who wrote this knowledge. Our belief is Veds are apaurushaya, meaning those are not written or created by humans. So the question comes, if not humans, who wrote it, where it came from. So our rishis who uncovered Veds, so to say, they believe that they were merely an instrument. Veds were revealed through them. And these Veds, this knowledge that exists in universe, they acquired ability to hear those, learn those, and whatever they heard, they kind of reproduced in normal voice or normal fashion, which others can understand. So they had those special abilities in meditative state to hear these Veds. And since they heard these Veds are called Shruti Grantha. Shruti means heard. Shravan means hearing. So Shruti is heard. So these are heard scriptures. So they are called as Shruti Grantha. Then as we talk further, we will talk about creation of the universe. But again, as per our belief system, this is not a creation. This is just a manifestation. Whatever we see today, it already existed. It existed in different forms. It just manifested in the form that we see today or we perceive today. Okay, so even though we are going to use word creation, technically the right word is manifestation.
Okay.
So with that background, it's very fascinating as we move forward. So Purusha Sukta is one of the suktas in all the Veds. We are going to go with the version that appears in Rig Veda. Other Veds also have the same sukta. There are some variations, as I mentioned. So before we dive deep into Purusha Sukta, we'll understand what is Purusha and what is Sukta. So Sukta is simple. Sukta means collection of some mantras, or hymn is what we call it in English. So hymn is Sukta. Also, the contents in Veda are called mantra. They are not shlok. Shlok are different and mantra are different. We'll not go into the details in the interest of time, but these are called mantra. Now, what is Purusha? With word Purusha, there is a lot of confusion, lot of comments we hear that your scriptures only talk about Purusha, they don't talk about Stri, so it is gender biased, so on and so forth, which is not at all true. The word Purusha, as we will understand here, has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with humans or any other creature for that matter. So what is this Purusha? Purusha comes from two words, Pura and Usha. And if you read any literature, they have split the word Purusha as Puri Shete or Puri Shayanat. That means the one who is sleeping in the Pura. What is Pura? In our day-to-day communication, we use word Pura to indicate a village or a gaon or a town or a city. Right? There are a lot of cities with the name Pura. So it is indication of a city in common language. But the Pura indicates any definable space. Anything that has defined boundaries or anything that we can describe or define is Pura. Now, as an interesting example, if you know in Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna calls human body as a pura. Navadvare pure dehi is a mention in Bhagavad Gita. So human body is a definable space, so that is also called pura. Now the one who resides in that body, and in according to the common definition, Purishayana, the one who sleeps in that Puri is Purusha. In the context of Purusha Sukta, Pura is entire universe that we can perceive or that is manifested is Pura. And the one who sleeps in that Puri, who sleeps in that entire universe is Purusha. Now, when I learned this or understood this, I was little doubtful, because if that Purusha was sleeping, he won't be active. He won't do anything. He won't create anything. He won't manifest anything. He won't activate anything. So that Shayana sounded little incorrect to me, little confusing. And when I studied, or when I carefully looked at it, a lot of us know that in many Indian languages, and definitely in Sanskrit, there are two alphabets which sound similar. One is Sh and one is Sh. Okay, so the Sh used in Shayana is the Sh that is used in Shiva or Shankar, whereas Sh used in Purusha is a different Sh. It is the Sh used in Krishna. So when I use right Sh, then the slightly different meaning came forth. Then that word gets split as Pura Ushayati. Usha means indicates Usha. Usha is early morning period. What happens during Usha? The sun rises and we start getting energy. The entire earth receives energy. Entire earth kind of activates, becomes active, awakens, all those things. So Usha indicates receiving the energy. So the Purusha is the one that provides energy or strength or Shakti to entire universe is Purusha. And as you can see, it is an indication of that energy or Shakti or force. It is not indication of any human or any gender. Okay, so that is first important thing. So it is description about that whole energy that created or manifested this universe. Then as we study, Purusha Sukta describes that this Purusha, that is that energy, did a yajna, and this entire universe manifested. Now, what is yajna? Yajna is not what we traditionally think as, the bricks are laid and the fire is lit and the offerings are made. That is just one form of yajna. But yajna is any process where we give something, process that and achieve something different that we want. That process is called yajna. It's not necessarily the fire. Okay, so basically Purusha performs some process to manifest the universe, and that entire process is described in Purusha Sukta. Am I okay or going too fast, too slow? Everybody okay?
Perfect, sir. It is very interesting. You can carry on. It's very absorbing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So with that, we will start with first mantra in Purusha Sukta, and we'll understand what I have given on the slide is a traditional meaning, what you will find pretty much anywhere. And then
Okay.
in the discussion, we'll understand the deeper meaning of what it really is talking about. Okay. So first mantra says, Sahasra Shirsha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapat Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishta Dashangulam. So the literal translation is, this Purusha had 1,000 heads, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 legs, and he covers the entire universe and extends beyond the perceivable universe by 10 inches, 10 angulam, 10 fingers, whatever unit you use there. So that is the traditional meaning. And if you see the interpretations, a lot of people have interpreted that this Purusha is the supreme Parabrahma, which is right interpretation, and he manifests through every living being. So head of every living being is his head. There are thousands of living beings, so those are his 1,000 heads. So those kind of descriptions are very common, but to me, I did not find those very scientific or relevant to creation of the universe aspect. couple will understand. First of all, Sahasra here does not mean exact thousand. It means thousands of or infinite large number. That is what Sahasra means. Okay. So this Purusha had thousands of heads. Now, where these heads came from? Secondly, the mantra only talks about heads, eyes, and legs. If the mantra was describing a, a human body or body of any creature, it should talk about other organs also. Why not hands? Why not tummy? Why not ears and nose and so on, right? So that kind of description comes further in this sukta, but here it is only talking about three organs. So it made me curious, why is it only three organs? What does it really mean? Now, today if you ask anybody which is the most popular theory about creation of the universe, the common answer you will get is Big Bang theory.
Okay.
Right, Big Bang theory is the most commonly accepted, and of course there are some uh, catches or some deficiencies in that theory and so on, but still it is most commonly accepted, most popular theory for creation of the universe. We will not go into that theory, but one line description of that theory, it says there was a huge Big Bang or big explosion through which the entire universe came about. Now this mantra is explaining very similar thing or same thing about that explosion and what happened. So basically, the mantra says that through the explosion, thousands of or countless objects got created. And those objects, their description is given here. Sahasra Shirsha. These thousands of objects were individual and unique. The uniqueness or the individuality is by head. Today also we say per head. That means per individual, per person. So all these objects that got created, those were distinct from each other. Those were unique, those were individual objects. And then it says Aksha. Aksha means eyes. What do eyes indicate or signify? Eyes indicate shine, luster, right? So all these individual objects, those were shining. They were very bright. Of course, those were created from a explosion, so those were all glowing or bright or shining objects. And the path or legs indicate motion, movement. So these objects, as they got created, those were moving. So if you imagine a burst of a firecracker, thousands of sparks get created and they start traveling away from that spark. That is kind of situation that is described here. So as an explosion, thousands of shiny objects got created and those were in motion, they were moving. Now, if this explosion happened and the universe is going to come out of that, where did it happen? There has to be some space for the explosion to happen. And the space itself is created as a part of creation of the universe. So before the creation of the universe, there was no space. So where did this explosion happen? So Purusha itself became space where that explosion happened. And of course, since Purusha became the space and his explosion or this universe is manifested within himself, Purusha is covering that entire manifestation or his own creation. He's all around that. Okay, so that is what is indicating by Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva. Vrutva is covering. It is covering the entire manifest universe. And not just that, it is much bigger than manifest universe. Atyadishtha Dashangulam is it extends that manifest universe by 10 inches. Now again, who measured 10 inches or 10 angula? So 10 angula does not really mean exact 10. What it means is, in our mathematics, there are 10 digits, 0 to 9. Whatever we cannot express in those 9 digits, it's something that cannot be expressed, which means it is infinite. So this Purusha extends beyond the manifest universe infinitely. So the Purusha itself, that energy or that Shakti itself is far bigger than the manifest universe. That is what it really means. Okay. Then we'll see one second mantra, and then we'll skip few and look at some few select mantra. It says Purusha evedagam sarvam yat bhutai yaccha bhavyam utamritatva seshanah yadanne nati rohati. So whatever we see today, it all is manifestation of this Purusha itself. It is nothing but this Purusha itself. Whatever we see today, we see earth, we see stars, we see moon, we see sun, we see whatever, everything is nothing but this Purusha itself. And not just these aerial objects, but even what we see on the earth, animals, humans, trees, mountains, everything is nothing but some form or some manifestation of the Purusha itself. Not just that, yet bhutai, whatever existed in the past, that also is nothing but this Purusha. Yet bhavyam, whatever is going to appear in future, whatever is going to come up in future, that also is nothing but this Purusha itself. So again, if we look at it carefully, it is really describing law of conservation. Today's science accepts law of conservation of mass and energy, which says the mass and energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can just be converted from one form to other form. The same thing, whatever existed in the past was this Purusha in some form. Whatever exists today is again that same Purusha in some form or some different form. Tomorrow he might appear in slightly different form, but it is never destroyed. It is just its forms are changing, its appearances are changing. It is same Purusha. It is endlessly there. And the same aspect that it's always there, it cannot be destroyed, is described in the same next line, utamrutatva seshana. Amrutatva means immortality. So that Purusha itself is immortal. It never gets destroyed. Then Ishana is controller or ruler, right? So he is the controller of this entire universe. And as a controller, he also takes care of that universe. How does he take care? Yadanne nati rohati. Ati rohati means indicates growth or expansion. We know that the universe is constantly in motion and it is expanding. So to expand anything, we need energy, right? The energy only will cause expansion, or also to sustain something, we need energy. So where is that energy coming from? So this Purusha itself provides that energy. Now today, again, if you look at any modern theories, they agree that the universe is expanding. They agree that there is a need of some kind of energy which will cause that expansion, but they don't know what that energy is. So they call it as a dark energy. We don't know what it is, so we call it as a dark energy. Whereas here it says the same thing, that this Purusha provides food for the universe to expand. Now, food is not necessarily what we think of as food, right? We think of food as water, like rice and roti and all those things we think as a food. But for different species, concept of food is different, right? So same way for this universe, that concept of food is different. But whatever that food is, that substance is, which is important for sustenance and growth, that substance is nothing but food. And that food for universe, this Purusha provides. That is the simple scientific meaning of this mantra. Then we'll skip a couple of mantras in between. Okay, so this is another mantra which kind of sometimes becomes confusing. So we'll just try to understand some aspects about this mantra. It says, Yat Purushena Havisha Deva Yajnamatanvata Vasanto Asya Sidajam Grishma Idma Sharad Havihi. So when this Purusha continued his yajna, he offered Vasanta Rutu as Ajya. We'll see what that is. Then he offered Grishma as fuel and Sharad as oblation, Sharad Rutu or autumn as oblation. Now again, this becomes very confusing, because yet in the process of creation, earth is not created. Rather, earth is just forming. If earth itself is not created, where are the seasons coming from? And if the seasons, let's say seasons existed, how can you grab a season and offer that as oblation? That doesn't make sense, right? You can't do that. You can't. It's not a physical entity. Season is not a physical entity that you will grab in your hands and offer it or give it to somebody. So here, this indicates something different. As this Purusha created the universe, he created different mechanisms which will help the universe to sustain, grow, and continue. One of the things the Purusha knew, that whatever I manifest, it cannot be permanent. It cannot be immortal. It has to manifest. It has to come in life, grow, and then annihilate. Right, and that is what we all believe: creation, sustenance, and destruction or annihilation. Right. So that mechanism is described here. Vasanta indicates creation. In Vasanta Rutu or spring, what happens? All the flowers bloom, all the trees get new leaves and stuff like that. So it indicates as if a new life has come. The earth has got new life. That's what, even a lot of poetic descriptions you will see that. So that Vasanta Rutu indicates life or creation or birth or those kind of aspects. So he created a mechanism by which different objects or different species can be born. Then Grishma is the summer. In summer, we get a lot of sunlight, lot of energy, where everything grows, receives that energy, and it grows. So that growth aspect, sustenance aspect, is indicated by Grishma Rutu. And after Grishma, it is Sharad. Sharad is like harvest season. What happens in harvest? All the plants or everything becomes ready for next generation. So the crop is ready. So one of the function of crop is plant next trees. So that creation aspect or recreation aspect, so the current form will be gone and a new form will come, or current life will be gone, new life will come, and so on. So that aspect of recreation or annihilation of current form is indicated by Sharad or autumn or harvest. So this indicates that before creating life on the earth, this Purusha created a mechanism by which this cycle of creation, sustenance, and annihilation will continue. We cannot imagine that some person or all the people who are born, they will indefinitely be alive. It will be chaos on the earth, right? So that mechanism was created, and that mechanism is not applicable only for life on earth, but it is applicable in universe also. We know that thousands of new stars are born, thousands of stars end their life, and eventually we know that our solar system is also going to end its life, and it will come up in different forms. Something will happen. So those aspects are indicated in this mantra. Okay, I'll just get one more mantra, which again leads to a lot of confusion, and then we'll open for questions. Okay, so the 12th mantra describes or kind of imagines this Purusha, this Shakti in a human form, not like in human body, but in human shape or human form. And then the question is asked, if I imagine this Shakti in a human form, through the process of manifestation, what happened to his mouth, what happened to his eyes, what happens to his ears and arms and legs and all those things, right? And then from next mantra, there are answers given to different body parts, what they turned into. And this 13th mantra you will see misquoted many times and misinterpreted many times. This mantra says, Brahmanosya mukhamasit bahu rajanya kritah uru tadasya yad vaishyah padbhyagam shudro ajayata. So what it says is, from its mouth Brahmins came, from its arms Rajanya or Kshatriyas came, from his thighs Vaishyas came, and from his legs Shudras came. Now a lot of people misinterpret this and say, okay, so your scriptures talk about Brahmins being the great, or Brahmins are first and Shudras came from the feet, so they have no value, and all kinds of misinterpretations are there, and people misquote this mantra to misinterpret and say how your scriptures promote division in the society and Chaturvarnya and so on. This mantra has nothing to do with Chaturvarnya. This mantra has nothing to talk about division in the society or any such aspect. This has nothing to talk about any humans either. When this mantra is this mantra comes in the sequence of Purusha Sukta, the earth is still being formed. The life is still being created. So there is no question of having division, social division, when the society itself is not formed. This again indicates different qualities or abilities that Purusha created for life on the earth. And it continues in next two mantras also. So if I just take this mantra, it is out of context and misinterpretation. See, I'll explain that this mantra just says Brahmano se mukhamasit. What is Brahman? Brahma indicates knowledge. So the knowledge aspect came from mouth of the Purusha. Now again, this is just an analogy given. Typically when you say some person is very knowledgeable, you come to know about his knowledge through his talk, how he talks, what he talks, right? That indicates how intelligent or how smart that person is. So mouth is just an indication of knowledge. That does not mean knowledge is important or all other aspects are important, Brahmins are important, other are not important. This is absolute wrong interpretation. This mantra does not even indicate hierarchy. It does not say Brahmins came first, so Brahmins are important, and legs came at the end, so legs are not important. Come on, are you kidding me? Without legs, you cannot have a foundation. You cannot walk. You cannot do anything. So it has nothing to do with such wrong interpretations. So I want all of us to understand and clarify it when people misinterpret and misrepresent this mantra. So this indicates that before creating life on the earth, this Purusha created a mechanism by which all these creatures, including humans and other creatures, can acquire knowledge. That ability of acquiring knowledge is indicated by Brahmin quality or the Brahmin word. So he instilled this ability of acquiring knowledge. You see any organism on the earth, that organism has ability to acquire knowledge. He knows what to do, where to go, how to find food, how to protect himself, how to run away, how to attack. All these things are known to every single creature. That ability, that knowledge is indicated by Brahmin quality. Then the next quality that was instilled in every creature is Kshatriya quality, which is a quality to defend and protect itself. And we know again, every organism has ability to protect itself. At least to some extent, it may or may not succeed, but it has ability to fight back, and that survival instinct, what we call it, that ability is indicated by this Kshatriya quality. Vaishya quality indicates ability to store, acquire something and store it for future consumption, right? That is how we typically classify Vaishya people, that they accumulate a lot of wealth or they accumulate a lot of goods and they sell those goods later on, and they accumulate a lot of wealth. So that ability or quality of acquiring and accumulating, storing something is indicated by Vaishya. And that ability again, every creature, every organism has. In humans also, we eat food and we store it for later consumption. When it is consumed, when it is depleted, we eat again. And similar things you will find in every organism. They have ability to acquire and store it for future consumption. And then Shudra or legs indicate abilities to do all other life essential activities, including moving around and all the other activities. All those are indicated through the word Shudra. Now, Shudra word, it means Shuchi Drayate. That means all the essential activities. So all the essential life essential activities are indicated by word Shudra. It is not indicating any inferiority or any such thing. What happens is there is another word in Sanskrit as well as a lot of other languages called Kshudra. Kshudra means inferior, that has no value, and a lot of people misinterpret or get confused between these two words, Kshudra and Shudra, and they start thinking, oh, Shudras they have no value in life and they are treated as meaningless and stuff like that, which is not at all true. Nowhere our scriptures talk about Chaturvarnya. Nowhere our scriptures talk about one being superior and other being inferior. In fact, our scriptures clearly say Janmana Jayate Shudra. By birth, we all are Shudra. Depending on what qualities we acquire, what we do with our life, we become either Brahmin or Kshatriya or Vaishya, or we remain Shudra. So it is not at all a hierarchy, and our scriptures nowhere in Veda, Chaturvarnya is nowhere mentioned. This is the only mantra in Rigveda, in entire Vedic structure, where these words come and they get misinterpreted as Chaturvarnyam or hierarchy in the society, which is not at all the case. So there are a lot of other mantras. In the interest of time, we will not go through it. Just a quick note that as I mentioned, that I tried to uncover all the scientific and practical meanings, and then I have published a book which explains all 16 mantras and lot of other aspects in details. And that book is called Creation of Universe, Purusha Sukta, Demystified. You can look up this book on Amazon, or you can look up by my name on YouTube or on Google. You will get a lot more information. Or I have given my website here. You can visit the website. You will get a lot more information about this topic or about the book. And again, if the topic is interesting, I will highly encourage that you read the book. And if you have any questions, again, my email address will be there in the book and other places. Reach out to me and we can discuss, we can clarify, or maybe I can learn something new from you. But in the given time, this is what I wanted to cover. Back to you, Jaganathan ji. Any questions anybody has, you can raise hands and ask questions.
Sir, it is a very nice and deep subject. I must congratulate you on demystifying this Purusha Sukta, which I, for one, would not have touched, because for the simple reason it is it appears to be metaphysical and very deep. Thank you so much for bringing out the scientific aspects of the hymns in our Vedas and trying to make it, in lucid form to the public, which is very much required. Otherwise, these hymns in our Vedas will be written off as superstition or merely boxed as ritualistic practices, which we should not allow that scenario to happen.
Correct.
So I once again congratulate you to have taken up this very deep subject. And audience, please ask questions. And as you spoke, I felt that sometime when you come to India, we can have a larger session in a physical format. If you are coming down to South, or one of our chapters in Mumbai, or probably in due time in Pune, we can have a physical format where you can elaborate it in person. That will be very nice, sir. We look forward for that. Audience, please request you to ask questions if there are any. Mr. Prasad Venkatachari says, thank you for the invitement. Any idea where did the Varna concept come from? Prasadji, you can unmute yourself and ask questions to Paragji.
Yes,
I don't know whether it's good evening or good morning to you, which part of the US you stay, but thank you so much. It's a very, very interesting session.
Thank you. Thank you. So this is a great question. Where did the Varna system came from? So Varna system, first of all, we have to understand that it is not unique to India, not unique to Hinduism. It is just a social hierarchy. Even in any corporate structure, there will be, management, there will be HR, there will be, what are the other functions. So all these functions basically are indicated by this Varna system. And just like these functions exist in any organization, and on a grand scale, they exist on a broader category in a society also. And that is what this Varna system indicates. Varna system does not indicate hierarchy or superiority. Varna system does not come from birth. Okay, it is based on your abilities. Even in Bhagavad Gita, you will see Chaturvarnyam Maya Srishtam. And the next part is important, which people ignore, is Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. Depending on qualities in people and the actions or the profession they take, their Varna is decided. So as the society evolved, it was inherent or kind of obvious or natural for the society to form certain groups based on different functions. So there will be some people who will focus on spirituality, pure knowledge, intellect, and so on. So they obviously had different abilities or different interests, different commitment towards acquiring that knowledge, and so on and so forth. Whereas the other function was important to maintain discipline in the society, protect the society from different attacks. So that became different category. Providing goods to the society was another function, doing all other essential activities. So if you look at pure Varna system, it is not only Varna, it is Varnashram Vyavastha. But keeping that aside, Varna system, even all the artists, the best of the best artists, by Varna definition, they are all Shudra. If I say that those are people with no value or inferior people in the society, imagine what kind of mistake we are making. Right? They're absolutely brilliant people. The sculptures, the structures that are built in ancient time or even today, those are marvelous. I cannot say those are inferior people or they have no value in the society. Right? So it came eventually with a different context. It got interpreted in different contexts and it got messed up in different contexts, and it is being used by different societies and politicians for their selfish benefit. And that is why they are encouraging more and more misinterpretations so they can meet their selfish motives. But that is not what the scriptures talk about. But a great question. Thank you.
Very interesting, sir. Any other questions?
You can also raise hands if you have questions, or type
Or
in the
unmute
chat,
yourself and
or
ask.
unmute. Yep.
So, Parag, I have a question.
Sure.
This is Amit. So I'm still wondering what this Shakti is. And when you described, you use the pronoun he, in that he is the creator, he is covering the universe and beyond, he is providing for it, and so on and so forth. It seems that this original sort of super Shakti, and at one point I think you referred to it as Parabrahma. But what do we know about the nature of this sort of original super power that led to the creation of the universe?
Okay, great question. So first of all, when I mentioned he, it was just a convenience or habit, I would say, because that form is genderless. So Purusha typically is used for male or masculine form. So that's the reason I ended up using the word he. But technically, calling he is not the most accurate way to call it, right? So that is just a convenience or a convention, but not accurate meaning. What do we know about it? To be honest, not much. We just know that this form, this Shakti, this energy, it exists, and it is the cause, or it is the creator. It is the energy that manifests itself in different forms, and that is what we call it as, in our true belief system, that is what we call it as Parmeshwar, Paramatma, Brahma, Parabrahma, Ishwar, whatever names we call it. All of those indicate the same thing. But I don't think, at least to my knowledge, nobody is able to define it. And that is how it is described. It is avyakta, anadi, ananta, formless, qualities-less, something that cannot be described. That itself is a description of that Parabrahma. we can only see its manifestations, just like electricity. We can only see expressions of electricity through light, through heat, through cold, through motion, things like that. Similarly, whatever we see are effects or causes, not causes also, but the effects of that Parabrahma or manifest forms of that Ishwar. But I don't think anybody is able to clearly define that Purusha itself.
Thank you. Very interesting. Any other questions? Well, I think that's about it. Very nice and interesting questions from the audience too. Thank you so much, Amit ji. We look forward to meeting you sometime in the near future in person. And I just like to make a small announcement. We have a series of programs coming up. Next Sunday, we have a big program coming up in Coimbatore. Kongu Tamil Sangamam. It is a one-day Tamil Lit Fest. October, we did a 2-day Lit Fest, Western Ghats Lit Fest. In the April, after the Tamil New Year, the first Sunday of the Tamil New Year on April 14th, Tamil New Year, the first Sunday happens to be 16th April. So we are doing a one-day Tamil Lit Fest. We look forward, which is just a small announcement. And then on 22nd of April, we have Arya book launch in Coimbatore. So thank you so much to all the readers of the Verandah Club, viewers today, and most importantly, the guest of today, Parag Bhalerao ji. Thank you so much for honoring us on this platform. Filter Coffee with Parag Bhalerao has been very enlightening. Saravanan ji, would you like to add a few words? Okay, thank you so much, Parag ji. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and arranging this wonderful session and this entire initiative of acquiring and spreading the knowledge. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Due credit to people like you and Goddess Saraswati for enabling us. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.